The call went through. The operator's voice was calm, practiced, almost comforting, as it asked for the address again. Sirens echoed somewhere far away, close enough to give hope, distant enough to stretch fear thin. In moments like these, people believe help is coming because believing is easier than accepting the truth that sometimes protection has limits. Tonight's stories exist in that unbearable space where the police were called. Reports were filed, doors were knocked on, and still, nothing stopped what was already unfolding. These are disturbing true stories where police couldn't help, not to mock authority or dismiss law, but to reveal something far more unsettling and far more powerful when the systems fail. Human instinct, resilience, and faith are all that remain. Within every terrifying moment is a lesson carved by fear, and within every survivor is proof that darkness does not always win. There is a specific kind of fear that creeps in when you realize no one is coming fast enough. It doesn't scream, it doesn't rush, it sits heavy in the chest, pressing down on the lungs, whispering that this moment belongs to you alone. One woman described it as the instant she understood that the police sirens she heard weren't for her. She lived alone in a quiet neighborhood where nothing bad ever seemed to happen. The kind of place where porch lights stayed on all night and neighbors waved but never really spoke. It started with her dog. Every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., the dog would wake up and stare at the back door, whining softly as if it recognized something it couldn't see. She laughed it off at first, blaming raccoons or stray cats. Then one morning she found muddy footprints beneath her kitchen window, perfectly shaped, human. She called the police, her voice embarrassed, apologetic. Officers walked the yard, shined flashlights, shrugged, and told her it was probably nothing. She tried to believe them because belief felt safer than doubt, but fear has a way of repeating itself when ignored. The footprints came back, closer this time, right below her bedroom window. She called again. Another visit. Another dismissal. Lock your doors, they said. You're safe. The final night came without warning. She woke up because her dog was growling low, not barking, the kind of sound animals make when they know barking would be too late. She smelled something unfamiliar in the air, metallic and warm. Then she heard breathing, not hers. She reached for her phone, fingers shaking so badly she almost dropped it. The operator answered. Officers were on the way, she whispered because fear told her noise would invite death. When she looked toward the corner of her room, she saw him standing there, smiling as if he'd been waiting for her to notice. In that moment, the idea of rescue vanished. What replaced it was something raw and ancient. She grabbed the lamp beside her bed and struck him with every ounce of terror and strength she had. He fled through the window, bleeding, leaving behind proof that arrived only after safety had already been earned through violence and will. Police came minutes later. Apologies followed. Paperwork, explanations. But what stayed with her was the understanding that when help failed, something inside her woke up. A strength she never wanted, but now carried forever. Fear teaches us lessons that comfort never could. One of them is that instinct is not imagination. A man hiking alone through a dense forest felt watched from the moment he stepped off the trail. The air felt wrong, heavy, like it was holding its breath. He heard footsteps that stopped when he stopped. He called the police from deep within the woods, explaining what he felt more than what he saw. Officers searched the area and found nothing. They told him it was probably wildlife or nerves. He left, shaken but alive. 3 days later, another hiker vanished on that same trail. Weeks later, remains were found miles away. Sometimes instinct doesn't come with evidence. Sometimes it comes as fear with no proof, and ignoring it can cost lives. There are horrors that thrive, not in darkness, but in normalcy. One woman repeatedly reported her neighbor for strange noises at night. Screams that stopped suddenly, lights turning on in the garage at impossible hours. Police investigated, knocked, questioned, and found nothing. The neighbor was polite, well-spoken, helpful. Months later, construction workers uncovered bodies buried beneath that same garage. The woman later said the worst part wasn't knowing what happened, but knowing she had tried to stop it and wasn't believed. Evil often wears a familiar face because familiarity disarms us. Horror teaches us to stay aware, even when everything looks ordinary. Some stories hurt, not because of what happened, but because of what was ignored. In a small village, a child was reported missing from her bedroom several times. Each time, she was found wandering nearby before dawn. Police labeled it sleepwalking. Doctors agreed. Years later, she confessed that a family member had been taking her from the house and returning her before morning. She said she tried to explain but didn't have the words. Silence protected the monster longer than darkness ever could. Not all terror ends with escape. Some of it lingers for years. A man reported a stalker who followed him relentlessly but never crossed the legal line. No threats, no assault, just presence, watching, waiting. Sometimes it's quiet endurance, patience stretched thin, choosing life one cautious step at a time. When logic breaks, many people turn to faith, not for miracles, but for strength. A woman trapped during a home invasion whispered prayers while hiding in a closet, phone clutched to her chest as the police struggled to reach her location. She later said prayer didn't remove fear, but it gave her something to hold on to when fear tried to swallow her whole. Faith becomes a refuge when reality feels unbearable, a reminder that darkness does not own the final word. Fear can paralyze, but it can also prepare. A night shift worker repeatedly reported someone hiding in her workplace. Police searched and found nothing. Instead of dismissing her fear, she trained herself to notice exits, shadows, sounds. Months later, when someone finally did try to attack her, she escaped because she was ready. Fear respected becomes wisdom. Fear ignored becomes tragedy. Those who survive horror often carry invisible scars. Nightmares, guilt, the question of why they lived when others didn't. But many also carry purpose. They tell their stories. They warn others. They become the voice they once needed. Horror doesn't end when danger passes. In those moments, awareness becomes armor. Courage becomes action. Faith becomes light. May you trust your instincts even when they scare you. May you prepare without living in fear. May you speak when silence feels easier. And may God place protection around you in unseen ways. Strengthen your heart when fear tries to break it. And guide you safely through every dark moment where help feels far away. Reminding you that even when police couldn't help, you were never truly alone.